Okay, now we can officially start. Hi guys, hi everyone. Welcome to 36th Agile Humans Meetup. I'm Aleksandar and I'm part of the Agile Humans team. Well, this is my first time being a moderator, so please cross one fingers because I want you to help me break the ice as soon as possible. So before we begin, I would like to emphasize that with this meetup, we are making the 3rd anniversary of our meetup community. Everything started with a local community and gathering at Started Center in Belgrade. And after that, our group got an international character because we were joined by Agile people from various countries. For 3 years, every first Thursday of the month, without exception, we build community of Agile people with you, hanging and connecting at our Lean Coffee meetups. And we are hoping that our community will continue to grow and that we will organize many more events with great guests in future. Well, when we speak about tonight's meetup, we have one very special guest. His name is Matthew Phillip. He is from St. Louis, United States of America. So let's wish him good afternoon because I suppose that it's noon in St. Louis right now. So Matthew, good afternoon and welcome to our meetup. Well, Matthew is a capability cultivator, organizational fitness coach, and workplace activist. Matthew helps organizations and teams continuously become fit for their purpose. He is especially passionate about building learning organizations and creating humanizing, engaging work environments. So before we officially start with the subject, I would like to ask my colleague Andrija to say something about topic, and then Matthew, the floor is yours.
Well, from my end, quite an interesting topic we have today. In my previous 5 years as I've been a Scrum Master, this topic of estimations was always hot, especially in the software development teams. And in these more traditional environments, striving to have this predictability was always the focus. And it was always my challenge to convince, and especially the product owners, project managers, to look at it in a different way and explain them that it's really, really hard and actually impossible to be precise in estimating if you're doing an agile project. Because it's basically a guesswork. We're doing something for the first time and we are trying to be precise while estimating it. That somehow doesn't make a lot of sense, but focusing on being precise and having this predictability kind of pushed teams and companies adopt different methods of estimation, like time-based estimations, complexity-based estimations. Some were funky and had t-shirt sizes estimations. I suppose you already heard of those and maybe practiced those. That was my experience in the last couple of years. But while that was the main topic, on the side, there was a group of people, different thinkers that thought, okay, this doesn't make a lot of sense. This should be done in a more efficient way. And thought of something different. Thought of a way to ensure predictability, but in a less time-consuming manner. And today we will explore how that works through one interesting game that Matthew will lead us through.
Yeah,
I'm also new in this topic and very eager to learn more, as I hope you guys are too. So let's explore it together.
So let's together say hello to our guest. So Matthew, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. That was a very kind introduction, and I think you said it well, Andrija. There teams all over the world have been trying to figure out, in an agile world, how do we answer questions like, when will these things be done? And I think a lot of us have been trained and had the traditional whether it's relative estimation, time-based estimates, absolute, and it's just very difficult. And I spent a lot of time with teams that struggle with this, and it's time that they could spend actually delivering the software as opposed to trying to figure out what is this relative estimation, and does that even provide any kind of information value in terms of answering that question, when will things be done? So, so kind of like many of you, I was thinking about this question several years ago, and I said, what are the options here? What can we possibly do? What are some better ways of doing things? And if you're familiar with the Agile Manifesto, it talks about we're uncovering better ways of doing things. And so it's meant to be really a way to keep learning. And so maybe if we learned how to estimate once upon a time, we need to be open, kind of like Andrija is saying, to different ways of trying things and different ways of improving. And so I did some exploring on my own and learned about some of these other options using data, doing forecasting. And one of the ways that I learned best is actually through playing games. And so I created a board game and did this board game with different teams and organizations and some conferences. And that's where I met Steve Wells, who's with us today. And so Steve is an amazing developer, amazing guy in general, but he actually said, well, given that we're doing a lot of online work these days and remote work, why don't we make this board game into an online game? And he has made several, probably of your favorite Agile teaching games, Agile learning games. He's made them into online games. So I really commend his website to you, which we'll be using today. But Steve is the man behind the online version of this game, and he's taken it and made it something even more amazing. And so it's open source, or not open source, it's open to be used. If you'd like to use this in your own teaching and your own learning with teams, you can use it yourselves as Steve's other games are. We're happy to give you some instruction and help you facilitate that. So just know that you can use this even after today. So we're going to play this game.
Hello to Steve.
All right.
Just
hello. So I was on mute. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, it's great to have Steve with us today. So we're going to actually play the game. And so I'm going to give you some brief instructions, hopefully just enough to get you going. I'll show you what it looks like. And then we'll divide into a few teams. And then we'll come back. You'll play as individual teams. And then we'll come back together in the whole group. And then have a debrief with about half an hour remaining of our session today. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show you a bit more about what we're talking about. When we talk about this idea of no estimates, a lot of people, it can be scary to people. It doesn't mean we're not giving people the answers that they need. So just to be clear about that, it's we're giving answers with less effort and more accuracy. And so what does that look like? So if you can see, hopefully you can see do you all see the no estimate screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's okay.
Perfect. Okay, great. So basically, I'm going to give us a sense of how the game works. And if I can get my spinning beach ball to stop going. But what we'll do is here, I'll just do this. Sorry, having some technical issues. All right, hopefully you can see the game.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll just talk us through this. Basically, each of you is going to be an important member of the team. So you're going to choose a role, and these roles in real life, you might have different roles. That's okay. You're going to choose to be a designer, a developer, a tester, or deployer. And basically, you might notice this is just kind of like a Kanban board or a work board like we have in real life a lot of times. And so we're going to work on work items each day. We're going to simulate days as turns or rounds. And you're going to apply effort to each of these tickets or each of these cards. We can think of them as user stories, work items, whatever helps you. And the idea is that we want to finish this project. All right, so I'll tell you more about the work in just a minute, but basically each of you is going to be able to work and decide together how you want to use your effort. Now, kind of like in real life, you have specialties and things that you're really good at. Some people have what we call T-shaped competencies. So you might be really good at design, but you might want to help out in another area. That's okay, and you can do that. What happens though is you're probably not as good in the other areas. So if you're a designer and you want to help out in development, you can use your effort there, but you'll essentially get half as much work done because you're not as good at development or testing or deployment, right? But as happens in real life, you actually can gain some competency. So you'll see what happens if you work outside of your specialty over the course of the game. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just run a little simulation so you can see what it looks like. This is kind of a fast forward little movie of this demo game, and you can kind of see how the team works. So basically, you pull a card from the backlog into the first column, design, and then different people on the team use their effort. They basically click on these little dots here. And then when it's finished in one work stage, it advances to the next. So at the present time, you need to finish the previous work in order for it to advance. So other people on the team, maybe the developers, start working on it at this point, and they do some work and it moves on and it gets finished. Now you'll notice that this ticket that's in test right now it's listed as urgent. All right, so urgent cards are things like production defects, bugs in production, things that are costing us the longer they're in play. So you probably want to pay particular attention to the urgent cards. All right, they're, like I said, they cost us money every time or each day that they're in progress. Okay, there's other cards in here that are dependencies on other teams. So just like in real life, sometimes you have another team that you have to work with. And so you'll see that on the card because it'll have a tag like green, as you see here. So that's going to be a signal that in order to get this card finished, another team, the green team in this case, has to do some work. All right, and so the green team will actually be notified that they have some people depending on them. Now you might have to contact people on the other team if they're not very responsive to your needs. And so there's a chat function here, which you can see here, these little bubbles here. If you need to speak to someone from another team, use that, and you can maybe send your nicest team member over as the representative and ask, beg, offer money, whatever needs to be done in order to get the other team to help you out. But keep in mind that they might depend on you at some point too, so you might use that as leverage. Okay, you can see that the work is getting done here, and it's filling up in the done column. Some things are going to be, like I said, urgent. Some things are going to have team dependencies. Some things are going to get blocked. You might have seen one of the cards get blocked. Just like in real life, it happens. Basically, if a card is blocked, it'll turn red, and you won't be able to do any work on it the rest of the day. So, and those just get resolved in the background. There's nothing you can really do in the game. You just have to wait for them to be unblocked. Okay. Right. You can kind of see the other teams here, the teams that depend on you. Those cards are going to be listed here. So you'll pay attention to those because those other teams are waiting for you and they might contact you via the chat. Okay, and you can see at the top here, there's a calendar here, basically what day we're on. Okay, so at the end of your day, when you can't have any more effort, you don't have any more effort to use, and each person gets 4 bits of effort per day. And so, and again, if you use those outside of your specialty, so if I'm a designer and I want to use all 4 of my effort in testing, I use my 4 effort to get 2 points done in testing, so 2 dots, and it'll keep track. It'll tell you how many. You can basically see here in parentheses. So Dolly has 3 effort remaining for her day. Okay. All right. I think, let's see. I think we're about ready to start. And let me go ahead and. Oh, you probably want the URL. So Steve, would you mind putting the URL of the game into the chat, and then everybody can log in. Basically, we're going to break out into groups, and the Zoom groups. And the name of your group is going to be a color, and that's going to correlate to the team you're on. So if we go to the Agile Humans group, there's going to be a list of different colors. That's your team. All right. So when you jump into your breakout room, that's going to be the team that you join. All right. So basically, you'll want to go to the URL, and you'll want to go to the setup, put your name in, and then as a team, you can decide what roles you want to have each person play. So you could have a team of all developers. That's happened before. That can be successful. You might want to spread out the different roles and share roles. It doesn't have to be the same role that you do in real life. So in just a minute, we'll do that. Are there any questions?
Matt, one last thing. One person has to click you see the Make Me Captain button? So one person needs to click that in each team. So you need one captain in the team there, and they're the people who move the day on. So
okay. And I would like to please everyone not to leave this meetup because of the numbers of participants in groups. So right now we will be split into 4 or 5 groups. So please stay on this video call because we need approximately equal number in the rooms.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's great. Okay, and if you join late, that's okay. You'll join in your team, and maybe your teammates can help you out. But yeah, like Aleksandar said, if you want to play, please stay in and give your best effort here. Otherwise, you can join us at the bottom of the hour when we come back together and do our debrief. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we start? I'm going to go ahead and...
When we open the link, hi, Matt. When we open the link, we just click on setup, you said?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Andrija. So yeah, so you'll go in and you'll click setup, and it should have this already filled in for you. And then you'll choose the color of the team of your breakout room. Add your name, and then you can set a role to start with. You can change that when you discuss it with your team.
Did you want to mention setting estimates as well, Matt?
No, that's kind of why we're here, isn't it, Steve? Yeah. So what we'll do is your team. You know, I'm going to be a traditional project manager. I'm going to say, how long will it take you to deliver this thing? All right. So we'll give you about 3 or 4 minutes in your teams to come up with the answer. All right. So I'll tell you this. So the whole project is 25 cards. All right. 25 and you're done. And in this game, Steve and I are going to give you a tremendous advantage for estimating. This is something you never have in real life because like Andrija was talking about, we're working in software development. It's by definition, a complex environment. But Steve and I are so nice to you that we are going to give you the magic crystal ball of telling you exactly how much work is involved for these cards. So there's 25 cards, and the average effort is 21. All right, so you'll see that when you go, you go into your team and you'll do set estimates. Okay, and so what we want to do, and we'll come back together in just a minute, but have a discussion in your team. How many days will it take you to complete the entire project? This shouldn't be very hard, right? We're giving you the total number of cards and the average effort for each card. It shouldn't take very long. It should be pretty easy, I think. So don't spend a whole lot of time on that. Have your captain of your team enter the number here, click save, and then we'll be on our way. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, we almost forgot why we're here.
Exactly.
All right. One other thing. Have the captain will be the one who clicks the backlog. So when you click the backlog, that will turn over the ticket into the first column. Okay, so so as soon as you turn over a ticket or start a ticket, that starts the clock. That's considered to be in progress. So if you don't want to start a ticket, don't click in the options area. Okay. All right. So don't join anything just yet. I see some people in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and click the breakout rooms, and then everybody's going to be distributed across the different rooms.
After Matthew and Steve split us into into the groups, as if I understand very well, we will now be allowed to enter the rooms. Only then.
Yep. Okay. Right. And so, Steve, tell me how many teams or rooms we need.
Well, we've got 30. Should we just do 4? We'll be about 8 people per team, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So just do blue, green, purple, and red. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. We'll do that, and I'm gonna have everybody distributed into the rooms evenly.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Is each team supposed to pick the same role? Like if I'm on team X, we're all going to be testers, or do we pick anything we want?
You can choose how you want to distribute it.
Okay.
Yep. So good question. Yep. You can all be designers. You can all be developers, but it might be more fun if you have maybe one role of each, or a couple developers, that kind of thing.
So kind of like a real Scrum team setup.
Yeah, you might. Yeah. Exactly.
Sure.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and create the rooms and put you in the breakouts. What I'd like you to do is introduce yourselves to your teammates, decide what roles you want to have, and then choose a captain, and then set your estimates. So remember to click this set estimates button. Okay. Steve and I will come around and visit you just to make sure everything is going okay. But and then also you can put messages in the chat area, and we can notice those as well. Okay. Is everybody ready? I see some good teams here. So we're going to send you to the breakout rooms, and we got a blue team, a red team, a purple team, and a green team. So again, those are going to be when you go to the website, click setup, and you choose the team that's the same name as your team. All righty. All right. And here we go.
The same URL. Oh. Okay. So I'll put the new URL in the chat. It's just got a 2 on the end. Go. So remember what you do. You go to the room, join the team, make your estimate, and then come back. Cool.
Thank you, Steve.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We'll open the rooms and get to the new one. Right. Cool.
Well, I think I was the one who broke it. So
yeah. Good.
Anyway,
so I quickly share the screen and we can look at the estimates. So that is
yeah.
So those are the estimates that we've come up with. So
thank you, Steve.
Cool.
Right. Okay. So estimates looks like purple team, you estimated 33 days. Okay. The red team estimated 50. The green team 39, and the blue team 32. So that's interesting, because do you guys all know that you're working on the exact same project? We told you that the effort involved, and we told you the number of cards. So I'm wondering why there's any difference at all, let alone a range between 32 and 50. What's going on here?
Because we have no bloody clue what we're doing in this game, to be honest. To be honest.
Just like real life.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have a clue. We just estimated by the things that we had.
Yep.
Okay, but why didn't everybody have the same number?
What is the exact number? The right number?
Because people suck at math.
We have
it's
we only had 4 people. Some
21.
teams might have less.
Okay, so right, so the team size matters, although it looks like the red team has the same number of people as the green team, and the estimates are
we didn't
50
have a finisher in our green team. Let's be honest, there was only 4 of us. There you go.
Yeah, well, the purple team looks like they're going to finish faster than the red team, and they have fewer people.
They're using extreme programming. That's why.
we had only 4 members.
Okay, well, okay. So I think we're finding what we already kind of knew. Estimating is hard, even when we know exactly how much work is involved. So let's go ahead and play the game a little bit. We'll go back into our breakout rooms, but just wanted to call attention to this to begin with. We gave you up front, again, this gift of perfect knowledge about the effort involved, and we still can't have the same number, right? So let's go back and do some work, and we'll come back. We'll call you back to the group in a few minutes.
Matt, can I ask you something before
Yes,
you
of
go?
course.
Can you give us some guide, because we were struggling? Okay, so we picked the first day. You got first ticket.
Yes.
And you have four points per specialty, yeah?
Yes.
And when you use that, do you go for the next day or do you go for the next card?
Yeah, good point. So you can make a decision as a team. So if people have effort remaining, you might choose to start a new card.
Okay.
But you can also just choose to end the day and start a new day, and everybody gets their effort replenished.
Refresh. Okay, that's what we need. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Okay. Any other questions?
Cool. Okay. Open the rooms, right? Let's go back.
Okay, great. Welcome back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. All right, Zlatan, you survived.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
It's more a study of team dynamics more than anything. I don't know what I learned besides that all teams are exactly the same.
Seriously, how red team managed to do 9 things? That's ridiculous. They didn't have any blockers. I'm pretty sure.
Oh my gosh! And how quickly we all are laughing and becoming like real people just by playing this game. That's the thing that I love about it.
That's good conclusion, yeah.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I know we just have a few minutes to do our debrief. So first off, thanks. Thank you for bearing with my technical problem that I created for us. So anyway, hopefully you had some fun by the end of it. So there's a lot to talk about, but we'll just kind of quickly talk about what happened in this game. You estimated up front. What happened? What caused things to take longer than you expected? What did you run into?
Ego.
Lots of team conflict.
Dependencies.
I think ego kicked in it.
I'm not sure that ego is the problem. I think here the Nikki is a very nice person here, that she wants to help others and stuff.
She is not loyal to our team, let's be honest.
They tried to kick me out and move me to the purple team.
So we want to do trade with the purple team.
She has some friends there in purple team.
Can we swap with someone from purple team? Come on.
All right, so you had some team dependencies, team dynamics, obviously. What else happened?
Blockers.
Maybe not enough people in roles.
What about blockers there? What is it about?
Yeah, the blockers. Yeah, they just occur randomly in this game, and there's nothing you can do about them.
But why?
What is
the point of it?
The point is just basically simulating what happens in real life. I mean, maybe you work in a team that you never have blockers. So
no, that's not true. Real. Let's be honest. That's a real good simulation.
I don't have blockers in my teams.
Okay, all right. Right. So team dependencies. Alejandro, you brought up a point about the team staffing, right? Like the roles, right? That's
like
very
maybe
important.
Just having one developer and a very large effort, and so always kind of clogging up because we didn't have enough people in certain roles, or sometimes the design was very big and we all had to pitch in a little bit, even though it was a very foreign maybe function for some.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember hearing some of the conversations around, do we stay in our own specialty or do we help out in other ones? How did you guys deal with that?
It took us a while to realize that. Let's be honest first. And I just realized we have our own all cards team green in other teams as well, which we didn't know, which is kind of silly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my team we cared more about the value, like whatever was more towards the right. That's where we all were putting efforts, because getting shit done was more important than what skill set you have, and that made us move more tickets to done column.
Okay, all right, that's a great point. So we can actually check. Say that was a purple team, right?
Yeah.
Piyush? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys got 6 done. Let's actually look at the value, because it was a game someone wants to win, right? Let's see how we ended up. Okay, so it looks like the red team, 2000. Is that right?
Yeah, I called them.
How the green got 0? Seriously, we have 800 at least.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe.
It's because you're urgent cards and you lose a lot.
You lost the urgent cards.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so paying attention to the cost of delay actually has a big bearing on our predictability and how long things take, right? Because I'm guessing that the teams who won, like the red team, when you had an urgent card, what happened? What was your behavior?
I think that we have a little bit ignored it. We didn't pay attention too much to it.
I told you.
So there you go.
Anastasia.
This is good explanation of green team. We're blaming each other.
Yeah.
I believe in my team. I believe in my team.
It's too late now.
So it's important, because when we talk about answering the question when things will be done, some of our policies actually have as much to do about how long it takes as the actual effort itself, right? So we told you the effort up front, but certain things like urgent cards, a lot of times in real life, especially when something's urgent, we drop everything else on the other cards and we prioritize that. So what happens is that card goes through quickly, but everything else incurs what we call flow debt, right? So everything else, it takes longer. It has nothing to do with the effort involved. So being aware of our selection policies is a big source of variation. And so I pulled this up just to kind of see some other sources. Cards getting blocked, you talked about that. Deployment, did anyone have a deployment failure?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we call that rework, right? So typically when we estimate something, we don't account for the possibility of rework, or we don't know what it's going to take, right? Improving, doing some technical improvements, like some of you, I think, invested in doing the automated deployment, right? So that it would never fail again.
We never got to realize that completed task, by the way.
Right. So yeah, so certain of these things are not things that occur to us when we estimate up front, right? Some of you guys did actually do, so everybody estimated the first time. How did you come up with 50 and 32? How did you come up to those numbers?
Well, basically,
multiply average with the number of cards and divide it by how many cards we have.
Okay, right.
We multiply by 80%, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So you figure out the effort, divide by the people on the team, and then multiply by something,
that's right?
Some really scientific number, right?
Yes.
Some people multiply by pi because it seems scientific, right? Project manager technique. But why did you use effort? Why was that important to you to use that as your number? What's the assumption we make when we use effort to think about it, estimate?
You mean previous effort or effort?
In this game, like so when I say, Steve and I gave you average effort per card. It was 21. Why did you use that information? You could have just ignored it. Why did you use it?
Because that's the game. That's the rule of the game.
We wanted
you didn't have to. We just wanted an estimate.
We wanted to know the scope, which is in front of us.
Okay, right.
We were trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. So typically speaking, and it's reasonable to assume that that the amount of effort for something is going to correlate to how long it takes, right? So the point that we need to remember, though, in this game and in reality too, is that effort is only one of many sources of variation, right? And in fact, people have studied this, and actually it's a very low percentage of the overall time it takes to deliver work. Some people say it's maybe even 5 to 15% of the time. So even if we nailed the estimates, and Stephen, I gave you the perfect estimate or the perfect effort ahead of time, even if you had that perfect information, you'd still be missing out on up to 85% or more of the total time it takes to understand how long it takes. But as you guys are already talking about, you identified several of these other things, right? So blockers, rework, team staffing, team size, policy, selection policy. The amount of work in progress actually has something to do with this in a big way. So we could look at your teams and say, how many people did you have on your teams?
In real life, or
here you had 4 people, 6 people. How many things did you have in progress?
More than that.
More than that, okay.
No,
Yeah,
one.
we can actually look at that.
We had 4 or 5, depends.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, the blue team, yeah, you guys had a lot, right? Blue team, you had between.
I think we were pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Never had more than 2.
Yeah.
So Captain Jason, please say something, because the blue team is in the focus right now.
we in the red, we had maybe 2, maximum 3, but
yeah, okay.
1, 2.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So that actually has a lot to do with how much you can get done, right? And so red team, you guys won, right? And the red team actually had sorry, let me go there. Red team, yeah, you guys had between 2 and 3 most of the game. That's not a random occurrence, right? That actually matters. When you keep your work in progress low, you're going to have a much faster time. You're going to be able to get things through more quickly. That's going to matter just as much as the effort involved. So that's an important source of variation. Now, going back to what we think about why we use effort, we assume there's a correlation between effort and actual delivery time. And so we actually can calculate that for your teams. So perfect correlation, that is to say, if something we estimate to be a 5 takes longer than a 1, our correlation number is going to be a 1, like 100%. If it's completely the opposite, like the smaller the work item, the longer it takes, it's going to be -1. So teams, what do you want to take a guess at what your correlation was for your teams today?
You have a red, purple, and red. Can you choose third one?
Yeah. Okay. So, and it's interesting because the red team, you had a much higher correlation because you had your work in progress limit low. So you had less work in progress. But even so, that's only 60 or 0.6. So it's not a terribly strong correlation. Actually, less than 0.5 is going to be kind of on the weaker side. This is just telling us that even in a game where you have perfect estimates, perfect effort, there's so many other things going on that you can't assume that the effort is going to correlate to time for particular work items. Sometimes teams actually have a negative number here, by the way.
Go with green and you will see negative.
Oh, green, there we go.
Oh,
Green is at 0.81.
We're actually
80%. Well done, Captain.
Monish.
Okay, really quickly, just giving you other options for estimating. So by the time you guys re-estimated, what did you do? Was it different from the first time you estimated?
On the green team, I just was trying to get us somewhere.
She was annoyed with us, so she put something.
I was like, what?
Okay.
Let's just start.
What did the other teams do? Did you have a different approach, or did you look at the effort again?
Yeah. So what we did was we looked at how much shit we actually got done in how many number of days, and according to that, we put the new estimate out, because now we know what our velocity is. So it's a more calculated game of, okay, if we could complete 3 cards in 10 days, if there are 25 cards, this is the number of days that we have left with this number of people. This will be the new predictable. This will be the new prediction.
Great. Yep. So in the first estimate, you looked at effort. That was the main variable. By the time you re-estimated, you were actually looking at throughput, and that's a much smarter way, because whether you know it or not, or whether you intuitively sensed it, when you look at throughput, that includes all those sources of variation, not just effort. So a much better way to do it. One final way, and I know some people have to drop, so thank you for coming. I'll go another 5 minutes if you want. There's a way to look at forecasting the future, because what you're doing is you're basically just using an average, right, and projecting out. But there's a way we can be even smarter about this, and that's using data to do a probabilistic forecast. So you can see here, Team Red was the winner, so we'll let them go first. So basically, we're looking at how long it might take to finish work in the future. All right, so the batch of work, if we're looking at 50 cards, 50 work items, now we can say, based on how our data has been in the past, this is what we can expect to see in the future. And so we might say that we have a different percentile expectation or confidence that we can finish this number of cards in the future. This is, you're not estimating, you're not using any effort at all. You're actually using just the data that you've delivered in the past. So this is saying basically different percentile confidence levels. We might say we have a 95% confidence that we'll finish 50 cards in 174 days. Right? So we have to account for the things that take longer. So some of the things are going to take 2 days. Some things are going to take 20 days. So we have to account for those things. We can't just use average. You've probably heard the joke, when Bill Gates walks into a pub, on average, everybody's a millionaire, right? We know that's not the case, right? So our data is not normally distributed. And so that's one of the lessons here, is that when we're working in knowledge work and software, do not use average. Do not use control charts. We want to use instead percentages or percentiles, because our work is not normally distributed. Okay, we can actually see that here. If we look at the team, this is a scatter plot. Basically, this is just showing us when we can expect things to finish. So if you're going to work on the next card, you can say something of confidence about when it might finish. So in this red team, we can say 75% of the time we expect that card to finish in 4 days or less. This is regardless of the effort involved, right? This is the actual time it takes to finish work. We might say we have a 95% confidence it'll finish in 6 days or less. So this is something you can tell your stakeholders when they say, how long will this take to get done? You can actually use your team's real data to answer that question without having to worry about all this kind of relative estimating. Is this a 1 or is it a 3? Is it a 13? Just use your data. Listen to your team. Listen to the actual performance of your team, because that's telling you something more powerful than your guesswork. And we as humans we have a lot of good things about us, but estimating, because we have human biases, that's not one of them. And so use your data to help you answer the question when things will be done. I'll stop there.
Well, that's a good advice. I would like to say that's pretty good advice. So we should listen to Matthew. So guys, we are actually at the very end of this gathering, and I would like to offer at least 10 minutes more for anyone who has some question for Matthew or Steve, or use this opportunity to ask a question.
Yep. And if you want to look at your charts too, just let me know. We can look at those a little more in detail. But I know I went quickly, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them.
So Steve and Matt, can we, when we use this with our own teams, can we get this kind of view of displaying different results? How is that? How we can approach? How we can access that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all part of the game. We can obviously we'll have a chat and tell you how to do that. But yeah, it's a bit complicated to say how to do that. But yeah, all of that will be available when you play the game. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're looking at it from a facilitator mode. So you can have an account and it allows you to do the facilitator display.
Okay, so you need to facilitate an account to be able to do that. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes 10 minutes to set up. It's easy.
Matt and Steve, I want to take away some practical advice, right? So currently, we estimate using points and all that, and I understand that how we do it today. You are saying always look at the data. Isn't that what velocity means in terms of story points? But I know you are saying story points are relative sizing, right? But in my world, we have estimation baseline. So we all know what a 3 means in a particular team. We have already set what a 3 means. So when my team sizes, they all know what a 3 and an 8 means. So I know that even if a new developer joins my team, they would know what a 3 is. So they are not like putting something from their own brain, because we tell, okay, you have to change the front end and you have to deploy this and you have to do testing only on one operating system. That makes a 3. Just for example, that's the estimation baseline, right?
So why do you use points instead of days if you're so sure that there will be 3? What's the point using relative estimation if you know that this will be 3?
No, that's 3 story points. That's not 3 days. I'm not converting it to days.
But what's the point of complicating things with story points? It's just confusing developers. Talking about unity, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I think the problem is that the story points aren't objective. So you're going to go back and say, well, we said we're going to do 15 points, and we did 15 points, but that actually doesn't mean anything. Because what is actually important is how many cards went through the system, how much work got delivered. That's what you can measure. And I think story points aren't objective. However much you think they're, you know what they are, they're not, because all you're saying is we can burn 15 story points a sprint, which isn't telling you how much work you've done.
Yeah. Correct, because they do not tell individually what does that mean, but when you convert into velocity, right, it actually does tell you something. So if my team completes 15 points for 4 sprints and I want to put a forecast, if a new project comes, what I do is I make sure my teams put sizes on all of them. And suppose that comes to be 100 points. My team can complete 15 points a sprint. I can easily forecast, okay, divide that by 15 and say, and then I add 1 sprint as a buffer, saying, okay, for some unknowns, though the unknowns and uncertainty is already accounted for in those 3 points in my estimation baseline, I still add 1 more, like it's called as padding. I say, okay, 1 more sprint and we'll be done. And most of the times teams do complete that work in that time.
So how much effort you spend on estimating scope? That's the things which you forget.
Correct. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so I'll say this. So if what you're doing today works for you and you can answer these questions with very little effort and they're pretty accurate, then keep doing that. Like, you don't have to do this new way of doing things. If what you have works, keep doing it. But kind of like we're hearing, go ahead, Andrija.
So one question: if you would start working with a team that doesn't do anything like this, you want to start with them, you want to bring them into this level to maybe use all this data, what would you start with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. How do you forecast with no data? So one, you need to answer the question, why do we need to know immediately, or how soon do we need to know that answer, right? Or can we start working for a month and then give you a better answer? But if you do need to give an answer at the beginning, there's something called reference class forecasting. And so it uses the same mentality, the same idea of probabilistic thinking. But what you would do is you would look at data from other similar types of projects. So it's kind of like how, if you're familiar with how real estate price generators or estimators work, they look at things that are similar or have similar characteristics, right? So if you're doing like a mobile project, have you done a mobile project in the past? What kind of data can you use from that? So what you do is you get similar types of projects and you do some multiple of these Monte Carlo forecasts to give you a sense of the range. So one thing, and I want everybody to hear this before you leave, when someone asks you for an estimate, never give them an estimate in a single number. right? Because we know that the future is probabilistic. So there's always going to be a range of probability. So what you can do with when I'm saying a reference class forecast, or even one of these, you saw that we have not just one number, but we're saying, well, it could take 5 days, it could take 25 days. So give a range, and then again with the confidence interval, what is required? Is it simply a matter, do we go ahead and go with this project or not? Then you might choose a confidence interval that's much wider, like 90 percentile. It's going to take us between 1 month and 3 years. Okay, is it worthwhile to start? That's kind of some ways to answer those questions, though.
Thanks.
And I find, eventually, like with one of my startup companies, we started with an XP process, and we used Kanban, ditched the idea of iterations. We actually didn't care about estimates at all. In fact, we actually informed our customers that we're working on high value things all the time. And how I incented and performance in my teams was just based on value gained over time. So it was really the velocity of value that I really cared about. I could care less about when something was going to be delivered.
Yeah.
Because we were very careful about prioritizing the things that we needed to do first. And our customers understand this. It's like, if you have an iPhone, when are you expecting the next feature to come out? You have no idea. As long as Apple keeps producing high value things, you're still going to be satisfied with their products. So
yeah, that's a great point, Jason.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
sorry, we do have another game on the site that demonstrates that absolutely perfectly, called the Coin Game, which is all about delivering highest value first and why you should do it. So if you can always come on to the meetup, I can do that for you, or I can demonstrate. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, no, that's great. Absolutely. Yeah, there's of all the kind of iron triangle considerations, value is the thing that's the most important, and yet we don't ever talk about that, or that's not the thing that we care about when we talk about project management, right? So Jason's getting us to think about value, and again, understand what's the decision we need to make here. Is it just an investment decision? Do we want to do this thing or not? If you're not planning to make at least 10 times the investment, you probably shouldn't be investing in software in the first place. And so that's the kind of level of accuracy we need when we estimate a project. We probably don't need that much precision or accuracy, rather, but because we want to focus on delivering value early.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the market cap and stocks today, I mean, who cares about profitability, right? It's all a matter of what perceived value is even. So it's one of those things.
There's that too, yeah. What else? Yeah. So, Pia, just going back to your point earlier, I would encourage you. You're saying everybody knows what a 3 is, right? So I would challenge you to say, does it actually correlate to time? Is your estimate, your points-based estimate, is it providing information value to answer the question when things will be done? So I would encourage you to do your own correlation analysis, right? So when you look at all your stories and you have the numbers, the estimates, and then see how long it actually takes them. Like in this game, this is the best case scenario, and the best team. Well, looks like Team Green was pretty good, but it was probably because they had a low work in progress. So anyway, I would just invite you to do that. The other thing is that when we're estimating and answering the question when it'll be done, we need to understand what is the definition of done for the stakeholder. So typically in the course of a sprint, a lot of teams I work with, they don't deliver things to production. And yet that's the thing that business stakeholders want to know. Like, when is this thing going to be done? They're not asking that question, when is it going to be in the pre-prod environment or in the integration environment? They want to know when they're going to start making money from it. So understanding what people are asking when they say, when will this be done, needs to be the question you answer. And usually it's not, it'll be done next sprint or within 5 sprints or whatever.
Yep. And when I was talking about, business cares about predictability where I am in. And predictability does not actually mean that you need to pinpoint a day on which it will be delivered. You need to, so we do quarterly plannings, for example, right? You need to pinpoint in which month what will be delivered, because in bigger companies, there is sales, there is marketing. You need to prepare for things that, okay, we want to put a train wrap in Denver, saying this is the feature that we are putting. When they will put the train wrap, like it takes like four weeks to prepare the train wrap, so train can be wrapped with that advertisement that we want to put out. So there are other stakeholders which need a month, not a day, on what something will be delivered. And delivered, we have a common definition of done across the whole company. I have 16 Scrum teams. They all know what definition of done is. It means some things in production where you have real customers providing feedback, right? So I do understand that. I came into this meetup to understand, is there another way that I can help my teams to still give that predictability? I'm not married to story points, right? I care that my business have some predictability, and that's why I came to this meetup to see if there's any other way to get predictable, to forecast, and not go into the story points or anything of that sort. Yeah. So you're saying look at the data, which is absolutely correct, because that's what we do in that story points world too. But here you are actually saying count the number of tickets done. I'm just trying to clarify. So count the number of tickets done per sprint, and that should tell you how much your team can actually do in next sprint. Is that correct? That will give you a range. Remember, talk about it in terms of range. But yes, you're using throughput, which is the count of things. Again, because unless you can show me that when you say a thing is a 3 and that's going to take 3 times as long as a 1, then that's not going to be useful information value for planning. But yes. Okay. So
I'd almost add on to that, if I'd really look and work strongly with your stakeholders and figure out why they need to have things in batches, right? You know, as I've been transforming organizations like very large banks, you know, them needing to know the month that something's going to come out so that marketing can put an effort around it is really just a symptomatic smell of them running waterfall. I want to deliver one little thing. How do we market just a little thing and get it out the door tomorrow? You know, once Agile starts proliferating throughout the organization, then this whole estimate thing just becomes irrelevant across the board. Nobody cares.
So that's great. Yeah, deliver value early and often, and it becomes kind of a moot point.
Guys, I'm so sorry for interrupting this very, very interesting chat, but we have to finish this meetup, unfortunately. So I would use this opportunity to say a very huge thank you to Matthew and to Steve. You were perfect. And you all guys, which are part of this meetup community, are very welcome to visit the other meetups we will organize. And I'm so happy that we share some quality time tonight. So of course you can contact Matthew and Steve. Of course you can contact Agile Humans for everything you need. And I hope that we will see once again on other meetups. And Andrija, my dear colleague, thank you.
Vala, thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
Nema na čemu, Matthew, or you're welcome. So guys, have a nice evening. Thank you very much once again. See you next time.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll get a chance to work with you, Matthew.
Yeah, likewise.
See you.
See you guys.